So if we do the work, it shouldn't cost us anything. Right. So they've limited on like how we can spend that money or on what we can. Mostly it's going to be on stormwater pipes or piping crossing the road. And we've got quite a lot. But they've put a lot of restrictions on it to the point that I don't even know if we'll even get to 150,000 if I can get to that, because of how sharp they got with their pencil on what we can use it for. So, but we're going to try to do everything we can, obviously, with them. We need it. That's the only thing I got on there right now. We'll work on that application and start getting things ready.
Okay.
So that if you guys approve it, we'll be ready to submit next month. Second, I've got some update on our lure program, the dumpster services. We provided the charges on that. I've provided a list in here. Our current provider is Coffee County, services out of Coffee County, and they're going to put a hold or a stop to servicing our area. So they're not going to cover us anymore. That expires the end of June. June 30th is going to be the ending of their service with us. So we've been getting quotes from anyone and everyone we can find that services our area. And I've provided that list, a spreadsheet here, of those costs. It's going to be a significant increase on monthly cost.
Commissioner Barron mentioned that he may have known a couple of other ones, you may want to ask him as well.
Yeah, there's some road off up to the fall of Nemo Road on the right.
That's the S&C.
Is that it? Okay. Oh, I heard it's better. I don't think they do. I think it's still better.
That's it. Yeah, we have one of their dumpsters that they'll do at our office now. We put metal in. That's the new business that we got. Also wanted to give you all an update on the resurfacing. They have finished the weighing surface on 775, the garden pass at the back. Now there's a lot of shoulder work still to be done. And our crews are going to do most of that. So we're going to try to get to that, but still maybe a few weeks. That's going to look a little rough before we can get to it to finish up the shoulder work. Our crews should start on 7741. 7718 is going to show the work probably as early as next week.
So the paver's through and we just got to do our part?
Yes. Sunrise stripe's not in yet, but it should be in tomorrow.
Okay.
And then after that, it's just cleaning up shoulder work, and then some permanent striping in a few months.
Okay.
They're moving to 4411 next to do the spot patching later. And then also on their list is, I want to just quote from it real quick. It's, next after that is 2254.
What else, sir?
Did they,
I guess appreciate that some of the constituents out there on 7745. But I went over yesterday and it was, you still in good shape?
Good, thank you.
the 107, 105, they did all the spot level. Did they go back, they hit and then back down to the triple surgery?
No, they were actually supposed to start today. They called us this morning and canceled. I guess fear for the weather. They canceled on today, so if they don't start tomorrow, I would expect by Wednesday on that. So they'll do the triple there and do 1107, 1108. I think they're going to pull out for a couple of weeks and then come back to 77, 41, 77.
What do you think the ETA on 2278 is?
I had it like third on the list. After 3306 was Yeah, 3306 and then 2278. I feel like probably, we're looking at probably 3 weeks right at it to get done. Pretty quick, but probably not soon enough, but pretty quick.
What else, sir?
That's all I have.
You got any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Byrd.
Good evening. I have nothing that requires any action tonight. I did want to report that today we did receive some information back from the Alabama EMA about our 2 community shelter projects that are still out there. The one in Brundage, one in Goshen. They are requesting about 3 more pieces of information, which I think we've already provided. We're going to check, so you've got the generator, sidewalks, and ground disturbance. So we'll answer those and get them back in. Hopefully get this meeting. Questions?
Anybody?
So I broke the news to Run Community Center, that theirs was denied, their storm shelter, or our request to get one there. And I did preface when we had another disaster to apply for it again.
We listed that one, sent in our letter of intent.
Okay. So I guess I was trying to, I didn't prepare myself well for that conversation and the time on the next application. So we're in the letter of intent.
Letter of intent, they're due by the end of June. All of them.
Anybody else? Thank you.
So I should like to say thank you to the Commissioner for coming over for our Special Olympics we had this past weekend, and thank y'all for your continued support of that activity.
That's an awesome program.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You-
We were going to do the public hearing.
Okay. Go ahead, Adam.
You just
You were next meeting.
consider the public hearing to be in session as advertised in the paper as required by the Alabama Code to vacate a road or a portion of a road, and this is, Jim, do you want to come explain it?
I can, if you, you just come up here and.
Yeah, come to
Yeah, I
the,
mean, I can explain it, it's just, that's what the work session, this is the public hearing. Then at 6 o'clock, you can leave after this.
Okay. So this is County Road 2233, what we would all know as L&L Lakes Road. It runs from Spring Hill Highway down to the lakes. The 2 landowners that own either side of the road have both consented that the road needs to be closed. They say there's an extreme amount of traffic that goes down that road. As we all know, L&L Lakes for decades, I mean, since I was at least 3 or 4, since I can recall, it's been a public lake, and there's still a perception out there that it's a public lake today. There's a lot of people, it's no longer a public lake, it's private. So the landowners have requested that the road be shut down, and it would remain public up until the last house on that road. And at that point, it would be closed, and that's the extent of the petition, so.
anybody got any questions?
Okay.
Is anybody here in opposition to this? Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
You going now? You're going. Yeah, I'm gonna walk head over.
You got anything on E911 today?
Is that Bill? One thing real quick. It's gonna be open, the grass is about as high.
I'm not the only one that thinks.
I'll get a flash.
So I just want to let you guys know that the 911 board approved for us to hire a GIS manager. This person's going to come in and take over our assessing and our mapping, help support the county and the municipalities and all that stuff as well. I'm hoping to have this position filled very quickly, which is going to give you guys a heads up on that.
Thank you. The administrative report.
first item in my report is a request for advertising to hire a part-time person in the commission office. We've got a couple employees that are going to be out for extended periods of time in the fall, and because of the internal controls and all that we need to maintain for the auditors and such, we really need to get somebody in to do a little bit of training on them and get ready for while we've got these people out in our office. We have to maintain a certain amount of controls in order to be in compliance with our audits, and the ones that are going to be out are very integral to keeping that going on, so we really need to get somebody in. And I wanted to go ahead and ask that we suspend the rules so that we can start the advertising process for a part-time position, administrative assistant one position in the commission office. I don't have any questions on that. The second item is a grant from the Alabama Department of Transportation for the GIS mapping. It's one that they usually do about every year through the Revenue Commissioner's office. This is what they use the funds to go and take the aerial photographs to keep the GIS system updated for their office. And so we do have that grant came in, and they want to go ahead and move forward with it because it will be something that they will be doing pictures this year. The third item is the Chamber of Commerce Annual Banquet Sponsorship. This is not until October, but this is something they usually come to us and ask to do the sponsorship, so I want to go ahead and put it on the agenda so that we can move forward with deciding whether or not we're going to do that sponsorship so that they can be sure to do the plans that they have for that banquet, because they hold it in early October each year. Under current business, the only item that I have anything for is the FMLA request from the Revenue Commissioner's office and the bank account closure request.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, thank you.
And I think there's a mistake on the agenda. I somehow skipped the first meeting in June. I went on out to the second meeting in June. Put on there for the holiday. I don't know why I did that. But while we will have our first meeting, I don't think it's that June 12th. So that's just a mistake that's on the agenda, I saw just now.
I got one question. It was brought to my attention that the persons that need to go on to the jail, they should come through you, right? Or find out we'd be all right.
Yeah, right now they have asked that there be no tours go on whatsoever at the jail or judicial building because of them trying to do finishing work. There's too much out there, and they've asked us to stop all tours at this time.
The person told me that they said a bunch of folks was out there
On their own.
on their own.
Yeah, they've had problems. I sent a copy of a letter out to all of you, where their insurance too has asked that no longer, nobody, not even us, not even going out there without getting prior approval. They need to come through me so that we can go through the right steps. Even if it's a department that's going out there, they're asking them not to go in without prior approval so that they can have somebody on their staff there to walk us through so that there's nobody wandering the buildings. They have started locking the doors over there to keep people out. We're getting closer to everything. We still don't have an exact date of opening. I would hope within the next 2 months though, maybe even less, maybe 6 weeks, that we can be ready hopefully to start moving in, but I'm not going to promise you that date because anything can happen. There's still some little things that are having to be done and checked off and taken care of, so I don't have an exact date still this time. I'm hoping that anytime now, we're going to have something exact for y'all on moving time. It's getting a lot closer.
Whatever.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Item 10. Oh, I thought you were going to bring that up under yours, a volunteer fire association.
You skipped that. If she was in it, I just wanted to remind, I didn't want you to close out the work session. I knew y'all wanted to talk to them and hear kind of what's going on. I didn't want to.
If Mackenzie's through with us, turn it over to Chief Jordan. Mayor. how do you
Well,
want
that's what I was gonna say, because the last meeting, we brought up kind of the countywide need with the Volunteer Fire Association, and y'all asked, let's get them up here and let everybody talk to them, so we've got some board members, who've come up. Which of y'all would like to kind of address the topic that JJ would like to?
Tell you what I know, you don't know.
Spring Hill.
Hey, good evening, sir. Welcome.
JJ Farmer, I'm the president of the Volunteer Fire Association. I volunteer at Spring Hill, assistant chief there. I have been the president for a couple of years. Yeah, how long. Basically, I've been talking with Russell here about, Goshen had an interesting, well, not interesting need, but a need arise, and quick backstory. There's, the income from volunteer fire departments is all tobacco tax based. Averages, we'll say a good number of $800 a month per department. That's 8 departments that get a cut of the check. So it's, Spring Hill takes just, I volunteer there, takes $800 a month is all the income we have. Diesel's shot up, insurance is up, everything's shot up. Tobacco tax has not increased since, I don't know when. The checks and balances have really flip-flopped. The price of everything has just went through the roof. We just don't have that much income. We have, I think counting it up, 8 departments that are in need of gear, equipment, furnishings. We try to do the best we can, but then we have, Goshen was the main one, several volunteer firemen that are actually certified firemen at the city of Troy that volunteer there that are well capable to do the job, don't have the equipment to do the job. A set of gear costs roughly $3,500 to outfit a fireman. And that's just the personal protective gear. That's not the air pack. That's, well, $8,000 a piece. Ordering one of those. It's kind of hard off $800 a month. It is, it's got real challenging, and because of that, our service has suffered very much. You try to go provide a service off $800 a month, and you can't even show up and do the job because you don't have the right equipment. It's got real hard. I think Goshen has took a step, and the town of Goshen is helping their part there, but that still leaves 5 volunteer departments that would fall not under a municipality that are just kind of asking for help here, asking for a little bit of whatever you can do to help further this along. We've got a real bad, not bad, we have an older radio system for getting acknowledgments of calls. 6 departments I know that I can count offhand have members that can't even afford to buy them a radio to get the call. It's amazing if you can get somebody to volunteer their time to come help volunteer fire department, but then now they're relying on a text message or a phone call from somebody saying, hey, there's a call, go help somebody. It's getting kind of rough with that. We looked at some different features that different departments use around the South Alabama's actually countrywide, but it had real good reviews and success with some different alerting apps. And if you don't have a smartphone, they can call you on the telephone. The way it's set up, worked with the 911 director, got it up and going. There was a free trial on it, actually ends the first of the month. It has substantially increased the number of volunteers getting the message, hey, there's a need for a service. It's not terribly too expensive. I think I gave you some figures on it. $2,500 a year. It covers more, this is cheaper price from, I think it's like $13 a phone for a year. I think we had 110 on the workman's comp list, volunteer firemen. That's basically in a nutshell. It's just $800 a month is hard. Trying to look at some other avenues, things to do. Volunteers are out doing fundraisers. Batesville's doing fundraisers. Spring Hill's they're cooking about anything they can find nowadays and trying to sell a plate off of it. Camps do, roadkill, something that makes money. It just doesn't, not saying people forget about us a whole lot. Everybody's got something going on, and it's hard. It's hard for me volunteering my time. children, work and everything else, and it's, you make it work, but it's kind of bad to show up to a fire and fire truck not have water in it, and, you know, well, the pipe was busted on it, we couldn't get it fixed, or the fire truck had a flat tire, it couldn't get there, you know, and, well, I got there, but, you know, I don't have my gear, you know, my gear's 20 years old, that's a lot of, we're going to Baldwin County getting outdated sets of gear, it goes every 10 years, it's a shelf life that's compliant, and a lot of people run a 20-year-old gear just because that's all we got, and hopefully something's better than nothing, but, we're just seeing a little help with it, see what we can do.
Questions?
Yeah, I know, most of you guys up here at least kind of know what we've done. A lot of the agreement that we put in to make sure the money was being audited a couple of years ago was tied into officers being trained. If you respond to a fire, that you have proper training to be able to do that. One thing, that was an insurance problem, right? It's where it's issue if you got unqualified people there. But you talk about the workers' comp insurance you got. And let's devil's advocate. If you have a firefighter that responded to a fire in outdated gear, and while he was volunteering was injured, there's an opportunity the workers' comp would cover them. I'm assuming if that was figured out, they were in.
I've been on workers' comp before, and it's not very fun. They don't pay a whole lot, but I have no doubt in my mind, the first thing they're gonna ask us is, what's your service record of your gear? And when, you know, it's older than service records are, they're gonna say, okay, well, you can figure out how to pay for that because we've got a reason not to pay. I understand that's the thing they love. The first thing, they'll work harder to find a reason not to pay than pay. And they got us bad. I think Spring Hill received a grant not long ago. We got new gear 3 years ago from a Firehouse Subs grant. Goshen, I was volunteering at Goshen. Well, we got one 12 years ago there. So that was about the last time Goshen had some new gear bought. There is no volunteer department in the county that is 100% compliant on gear with a complete up to service. Even Spring Hill, they got some 3 years ago. We've had new people since then. They're wearing some older stuff that we had. So yeah, there's nobody that will be 100% compliant if it was a personal protective equipment issue.
I'll close it out after if y'all want to ask anything else.
Anybody else got it?
Yeah, in the areas you all cover,
Yes, sir.
what size fire hydrants you got? The little small ones?
The blowout hydrants, so your standard fire hydrants are, we've actually got them marked from 911 that show us where they're at. We run countywide, there's hydrants all over the county. We try not to use those little small 2-inch blowout hydrants. They're not going to produce a whole lot of water.
So, follow up on that. I don't want to break in, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page, because are there adequate fire
Hydrants in the county? By no means. It's not your fault at all. I mean,
Yeah.
every 1,000 foot's great.
I just want to be
Ask that question again, are there what?
adequate.
Spacing, number of hydrants, in my opinion, is this an opinion thing? If you ask me if my opinion, is there an adequate number of fire hydrants in Pike County, I would say no.
Adequate number of,
You're 100%.
number of, okay.
Well,
I live on 167, there's no fire hydrant from Wards to my house, and I live at Spring Hill, Emmanuel Dirt Road, the school, there's no fire hydrant, there's no water line running down there. There's 5 homes, I mean, Wards.
I'll just stay right here. Something that, and I know the county water side of things some because we get into Goshen. Goshen runs off a volume system. In other words, we've got 6-inch mains. We own our own water system in Goshen. What the county does, county runs a smaller line on a higher pressure. So you don't have the volume of water. You have the pressure, but you don't have the volume. And when it comes to us trying to fight fire, volume of water is way more important than the amount of pressure you use.
yeah, and just to clarify, that wasn't a knock on our water system.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at
I want
all.
to make sure as we were discussing that point, it didn't gloss over everybody that to make sure there is it's gonna be a bigger lift than what we're talking about today. There's also a need for work in that area as well.
You couldn't do enough in the end. But as far as where we sit now, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't think a whole lot. I see other places and see other things, you know, I've studied the map. I work for the city of Troy as a firefighter. I'm a captain paramedic, been there 14 years. I like knowing where I'm going. I pride myself on that. I like looking at the map. I know where a lot of hydrants are, looking at things, and sitting at the dinner table. You know, last night eating supper, the map sitting there on the wall, and it's got hydrants marked. There's a lot of places that you don't see red spots on long stretches of roads in the county. And that's not y'all's fault. That's just the way it happened. But they're noticeable to somebody like me that notices stuff like that. You can see it and be like, man, there's not a hydrant there at all. Pike Pioneer Village fire. Closest hydrant we had to it was Rex Lumber. Recently installed too, when they did that. So before then, I mean, the closest fire hydrant to that was up above Scotty's store there in Mixfield. I mean, it's a good ways from things. And they're spaced out some figures.
Yep. Could you explain tanker shuttle system that could?
Yeah. So our combat to that is departments having tankers. The standard fire truck, if you're lucky, is carrying 5-inch hose, 1,200 foot. We don't have that in this county. We don't have that money to buy it. We're running 2.5-inch hose, and you're lucky to find 400 foot on the back of a fire truck that's not falling apart. So the tankers, the city of Troy got a tanker. It has been awesome. It comes a lot. We work a tanker system, 2 3,000 gallon trucks that show up, and that is what we have to heavily rely on for a lot of these county fires now, is calling more departments, getting more help. Well, in turn, one house fire right now, if you call in, let's pick Goshen. Goshen is going to get the city of Goshen, city of Troy, 2 volunteer departments that are closest to the fire. So you're going to take Henderson and maybe Spring Hill, and they're coming. Well, then that's 2 more trucks that are responding somewhere else, still in the county, but responding somewhere else. So 2 more trucks running fuel. They're going to bring 2 tankers, maybe an engine if somebody else has got to bring the engine, to bring more water, because we don't have that many hydrants to hook right up to. So you put more people, more gear need, but more people, more need for filling trucks back up with fuel later. $800 eats up real quick. So I mean, everything plays a factor into it when you're looking at the overhead of just saying $800 a month from what's all going on. If we had more fire hydrants, yeah, you may have, less needs for the truck to go farther and things like that. How many? I did 5 loads on the tanker going from Rex Lumber to Pike Pioneer Village back and forth 5 times just for that one truck. There were 4 other tankers that were going to other places. So when you factor in, well, I know it's the city's tanker, not a volunteer tanker, but Mixfield, they did it. So I tell you what that fire cost them. As far as fuel and wear and tear on equipment, I guarantee a couple $100. That was one call.
You blow a steering tire out on the fire truck, it's $380.
Right now, Banks is in the problem right now. My wife's uncle owns a tire shop in Brundage. He was talking the other day about ordering Banks some tires for their fire trucks. They got 2 that went out like $800. I was like, well, there's some money for the month. It don't go near like it used to. The volunteer, the numbers are way up from everything. Meeksville's got a volunteer department, they're running medical calls. A lot of people can't afford to. They've talked about it, just can't afford to get it and do it. I'm glad they're providing service, trying to help that community, but they recently had some issues with some money things. I ain't gonna lie about that. We have really tried to work hard on that. I really like the system that's in place, the way things have been going. I think we've done real good on managing that. We're not where we want to be, but we know where we were.
You said that you are the president for the
Association
for the county.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I heard you mention grants, because I know fire hydrants are really expensive To put it in.
$3,000, I think is what our quote was from Spring Hill, we got one put in front of the fire station.
Well, it cost me a lot, but Sarah, I had put
Hey,
in my own.
the last one we had put in,
$3,000.
$6,000.
There you go.
Well, I'll have to talk to them, they told me something else. And I'm just saying, maybe because it's on 231. You know, what I'm saying is that it's extremely expensive, and I was shocked to know that we did not have fire hydrants in closer than what we did. So you're really not just, I keep hearing, Goshen, Spring Hill, need one, but you're representing the entire county.
Yes, ma'am.
Fire Association, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. All but 8 volunteer departments and the city of Troy is part of it. They're part of the fire association. I represent all of them and the things that I have. They trust me with that sometimes.
Anybody else?
Yeah, how about North Pike County, how many stations you got there?
So Seco is in way north Pike County. Banks is considered, well, if you call north of Troy, you got Banks, Meeksville, and Seco. Seco's had a terrible problem with membership in the past couple of years. We've got their numbers up a little bit, I won't say a whole lot. They also, I think, have the least amount of calls in the county when we look at it, which is good. They got a big area, but the dense population. We've tried and tried and tried and tried to get, we had a volunteer fire department in the city of Troy, Pike Fire Rescue. I don't even know how that happened. They closed their doors. We're going to be there in a minute, figuring that out. Tried to get some people to volunteer anymore and start something up in that area. All my wife's family lives out there. I'm there all the time, and I see a huge need. Meeksville Volunteer Fire Department runs Needmore Road. They have to come from 7741 to 7718, right where you're talking about, at Moses' house. That's Meeksville. Takes them a long time to get there. City of Troy's coming for a house fire, but other things like that, they got to call for help, and it's a long way to get there. But I polled the community. We actually, at one time, had an acre of land that was going to be donated to build a fire station, but community involvement from the people, it's hard to get the help. It kind of fell down. I still love to see something go that way. I'd love to see something down the Terrell way. There's a big gap in area. I said, I've seen the maps in our 2 hard spots. From the Needmore Road, Meeksville runs a part of it, Banks comes right up to a part of it, and Seco runs another part of it. And those departments take a minute to get there. Tarentum's the same way. Tarentum's got a department in Coffee County that beat everybody in Pike County, but we want to try to keep it local first, but we don't mind calling them for help at all. They, 5-star will run a lot into that area. But Hamilton, Spring Hill, and 5-star are the closest there. So we got some gaps with it, but and like I said, it's the numbers of people volunteer are not the greatest. And
well, and the other thing that, and we've been part of those talks with y'all, and with the way their funding is today, if we put a new station at Needmore and a station in Tarentum, the funding is still the funding. Whatever they're dividing, instead of dividing it 8 ways, you're dividing it 10. So instead of them having $800 a month, that's already a strain, they're going to be getting $500 and even less than that.
I'll tell you something right now. I got a buddy. He volunteered at Robertsdale. Baldwin County, is that it?
Yeah.
911 record?
Yep.
The 911 record. You know, I've been there and seen their stuff. They've got taxes and fees and other things to have income, and they have nice equipment. They have people. It's kind of a bad trade-off, but I don't want to show up and I don't want to go to that volunteer fire department and volunteer my time there knowing they don't have nothing I can't do nothing with. Why do I want to look like not a very smart person standing inside the road with a fire truck that don't pump? Well, I got a truck there, but it don't work. If you have nicer equipment, you have the funding for nicer things that can provide a good service, somehow, for some reason, that attracts people. You can get people to actually come help if you got the tools to do the job. Sometimes, you don't have the tools to the job, and well, they only have no gear. Why would I go volunteer there? Well, their trucks don't even run. Why would I even go help them with that? It's kind of a drawback on us. It is just everywhere you look. If they've got something nicer, they end up having a little bit of, say, more people, not necessarily quality of people, but more people. Something to actually do the job instead of piecing it together with 20-year-old stuff.
Look, JJ, just for their knowledge, I wouldn't mind you stepping into a little bit. You brought up how Pike Fire and Rescue in the past had been in the city limits, and it was really almost a waste because it was in the city limits where we had 3 professional, full-time fire department service in that area.
I'll tell you
Tell them what's happened since that's, because I mean, y'all split the gear up, y'all have taken that funding and that equipment
So,
and spread it out around.
from my understanding, that place started many years ago as something, and somehow it ended up a volunteer fire department, and then they got to cut a tobacco tax, and then they never got called to go nowhere first, because they didn't have an area, because they weren't citizens. So somehow it fell through the cracks. Then they had some issues where they were in the paper and the news several times for not doing smart things. And finally, we talked to them and got them to agree that their services would be better elsewhere. Volunteer in the communities. The people that were running that place were living in Anson, but driving 20 minutes to Troy to come to the fire station to go nowhere. So we talked. They decided to dissolve and stop that. And that stuff assimilated back into association, so we took the good of things and sold it to ourselves in the association. You know, volunteer departments, bought a fire truck for $25. We split the money between the volunteer departments. It all went back to them and trying to help them out. Since then, Seiko's got a brush truck. I never had a brush truck. They hadn't had one in 8 years. They got one that's working now. Henderson got another pumper. They had a main fire engine. They were having trouble keeping it running. Some departments got some air packs. There was not a good set of serviceable gear in that department. It had all been pieced together from other departments. But they got some things to wear, but still not great things. But we took everything we could. They had some money. Since the day they closed, she has had the checkbook, and we have not let any of that money move, because it will be, once I leave here, Jim actually is already gone, we're going to meet with him at the Pike Fire Rescue Building. I had one last meeting. Their title paperwork was god-awful. Looked like 19 people owned it from 77 and on up, and so we're in the process of selling that building. If we can sell that building, we're going to take that money, take the money that they had, and a lot of it was tax money, it will filter back into the association and try to better ourselves with that a little bit. But when you split it all up and look at the way it goes, maybe we could buy 2 sets of gear apiece. If that was just a gear need off of that money, but there's other needs. Like I said, I know Banks has got a fire truck right now that needs 2 tires.
And the reason I want you to say it, the last 2 years, the association as a whole has taken great strides in consolidating, more properly managing, and so that they offer the best service that the tobacco tax will let them offer. And, this had come down the other night in Goshen at the meeting. I asked these gentlemen to give us you already mentioned McKinsey, there's 110, 118 people on the rolls, and they feel like properly trained, fit, and capable, that if they had 2 sets of gear per department, which would be 16 sets of gear, that would adequately, at the moment, that would be a minimum. Those are the people that would go in burning fire.
Yes, I would not put it past that, because that's, again, at any given time, when you dispatch a volunteer fire department, you may get 2 people during the middle of the day, you may get 15, depending on what time it is. Then if that person is actually capable to do that job.
But, the reason I say that, they're not asking us to help them buy 110 sets of gear. I mean, they're being realistic, they're being conservative about the number, and that's something that if we could work with y'all getting that'll have a 10-year shelf life.
It will. What I've come to ask, I guess, in this sense of speaking and talking with y'all tonight, was the fact of, yes, if you would look at the idea of 2 sets of gear per volunteer department, that was pretty equal and fair for everybody. It was split up. Nobody's going to come to me and say, well, Goshen got this and Spring Hill didn't. It was across the board. We're trying to help everybody the same. We're all the same. We're all volunteer firemen. That and the alerting system funds.
And that's something I know we touched on briefly in our last meeting. No more than that is, I would love for us to be considering between now and the next budget year that just be something we try to just put in our annual budget. I mean, in the break, something could show y'all this app. I mean, we've had talks. I know McKinsey's been in meetings with different departments in the county about radios and the cost of that. And I think this is a very meager annual cost that in comparison to the investment on radio systems.
I looked at it and I didn't realize that if we would not, if we didn't go through with it, if it doesn't go through here, the association doesn't go through with it, I would pay for it myself. I think just It's like, under 50 is one price, over 50 is another, over 100 is another. $15, I think, for myself to have that. It's a notification to a call. If I don't have radio, extremely quick. That's $15 for your phone to get that alert. The radios that the standard radio system on a standard radio right now, handheld radio is $800 a piece. So it's a little bit cheaper.
Well, so you got anything else with that, sir? JJ, thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing.
No problem.
Anybody got anything else needs to come before the commission at this time? Pike County Commission work session and public hearing is now reconvene for the regular meeting in 5 minutes.
Lots of work.
What time
I've never seen it, okay.
Yeah, I know.
And I can send you the fire. And y'all go to a county hall. It's not free.
No,
What I was worried about was you're just putting on that TV. I took what was said is, we're okay. Take balance. Before I ever got involved with all things, I had two choices for insurance.
But it's been said
Intersection.